Are you interested in innovative education and diversity in school models? Do you see a need for something different to bring about a reformation in our current education system? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join us for this special summer series where we will introduce you to the HERO Project. HERO stands for Heartland Education Reformation Organization and is focused on providing support for unique faith-based schools. These creative Christian learning environments, such as homeschool co-ops, microschools, and hybrid schools, are popping up all across Kansas and throughout the Heartland. The HERO Project offers continued support for this movement. I am your host, Dalena Wallace, founder of the WISE Network and president of AIM Educational Collaborative. Welcome to our summer series of WISE and Otherwise, where we will be highlighting the unique role of the church in supporting a reformation in education through the HERO Project. Okay, welcome back to another episode of WISE and Otherwise. I am here today with Kristie Flohra with Soaring Education Services. Kristie, I'm so excited to introduce you to our audience. Take a minute here and just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then we will talk a little bit more about Soaring Education Services.
Well, great. So I'm really glad to be here and be part of this with you as well. My name is Kristie Flohra, as you said, and I am the implementation lead for Soaring Education Services. I have been working with our team for about 3.5 years, but before that, I spent time as a principal and preschool director of a private Christian school, and also was a teacher for about 20 years prior to all of that. So I've got about 28 years of experience in education total. I love to tell people that I started when I was like 10. But it's exciting just to be able to share and work with folks now. Some of the information and great things that I've gleaned over the years.
Yeah. Well, I love how your experience has brought you to this point, and you definitely have a heart for this movement to see Christian education grow and expand and become more accessible. And with that, why don't you introduce us a little more to Soaring Education Services and tell us what this organization offers?
Absolutely. So Soaring Education Services is actually the service arm of OpenSky Education, a Christian nonprofit that's been around for over 20 years. And their dream was to help make Christian education accessible and affordable for all. And so when we look at that idea, really being able to create a service where we can come in and help people make their school a reality was really an important part to the team. So about 4 years ago, Dr. Preuss, who started and founded our department, he came to me with a vision of what he had. And it's actually something that had been a long time in the making, things that we had talked about for many, many years as we were all administrators in different places. And I think COVID was kind of the accelerator, if you will. If something positive had to come out of that, we realized that we really did need to push forward with making Christian education accessible and affordable. And not only that, we realized more and more that the one-size-fits-all approach of many of our schools just doesn't work for that all. And so because of that, we felt like this was a great opportunity to come together and really see what we could do to help be the catalyst for people to start their Christian schools. And that's how Soaring was started. So we all came together and put together kind of a design and build framework that we call it now, where we said, let's look at all of the things that are kind of the pitfalls or the places that people often get stuck, and let's help to ease that. And so that's what we spent about a year putting together. And then for the last couple of years, we've been taking the show on the road and helping people start their schools.
That is so exciting to me because, as you know, I have the project. It's the HERO Project, and that stands for Heartland Education Reformation Organization. And my heart's desire is to, number one, encourage churches to get more involved with Christian education and supportive of this movement. I'm meeting school founders all the time And a lot of them are believers and they feel called to this. They view this as a mission field and it's their ministry. And so the fact that Soaring offers services and support for school founders, for those when the Lord places this on their heart and he's asking them to step out in faith and start a school and to remove the barrier of all of the unknowns and like, who can help me and where do I start? So this is a beautiful service and I'm so excited to learn more about it. Now, tell us exactly kind of in some more detail, what are some of those features? First of all, what are some of the common questions that they're coming to you with when they're first starting out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We do get, a lot of the similar questions we do get. Where do I start is often the first one. I know the Lord has put this on my heart. What do I do now? But we get a lot of questions about, where will I find teachers? How can I charge for this? What can I charge for this? I don't know anything about starting a 501c3. How do I make that happen so that this can be a school? Where do I get curriculum? I mean, all of these different questions often, become part of what do we do? Sometimes it's even where, things like, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to say it. So we even help people through the process of kind of clarifying their mission, vision, and values, which is a really important part of this to understand. And then I think the other part is really figuring out who God would seek for you to serve. And once you kind of get those two pieces, the other pieces can, come into place fairly easily. It's not that it isn't any work, but there's a lot that you can do to move forward once you kind of have that mission and vision, at the forefront of what you're doing. I mean, we even have people that ask us help with IT. What do we do? Sometimes those questions are basic, but can be really frustrating when you go to do a quick search of something and you realize there are a million options out there. And it's just hard as one person often is, leading the charge on this. Like, I don't have the time to sit there. And so I think that was one of the things early on that we realized, from being administrators in other schools was, boy, if I only had the time to research every one of whatever it is, I think I'd be able to make a more informed decision. And so I think a lot of times those are the kinds of questions, that we get, and those are the places that we can fill in. I often say that I feel like I'm there to fill in the gaps. So whatever people need, I want to be able to be there and be that stopgap for them. And oftentimes people need different things. Maybe they already have a great idea for marketing and that's wonderful. And we want to support them in that, but maybe they don't. And they just need a little bit of help on where to go or what to do. Maybe curriculum is already, big on their list and they've researched and figured out what they want, but maybe not. Maybe they don't even know where to start. Maybe they want to know, some data, just on the community that they live in. I think that's one of the things that sometimes, we get people that are these entrepreneurs often that want to do this, or teachers who just realize that there's a better way to educate our students. And they say, well, I think in order to get people to back this, I've got to have some sort of a feasibility study. I think before I started with Soaring, I wasn't really sure what a feasibility entailed. And so I got to do the work of learning how to conduct a feasibility study. And I can tell you with like certainty now, it's a really important part of the process. You need to know whether or not a school is feasible in your community and what kind of school and all of those pieces. So I think that's really what we're here for, is to help people. It sounds really simple, but to kind of take the guesswork out of some of those things. And I think that's really the truth is, we try to come in with our tools that we've already kind of put together to be able to help others.
Yeah. Now tell me, the school founders who are coming to you, those who the Lord's placed this on their heart, what do they look like? What are the demographics of these individuals who are coming and saying, I want to start a school?
Yeah. God doesn't call the equipped often. He equips the called.
Yeah.
And so these people are everyday people just like you and I. I'm a mom of 4 kids. And I think that was another big driver for me in this, is I realized that I, am the mom to all 4 of my children, but they all learn differently and they're all beautifully and wonderfully created. But again, that one size fits all doesn't always work. And so I think that those are the kinds of people that we see, people that realize that there's a better way of educating our young people, people that maybe have some education background and want to know how the Lord can use that in a mighty way. We get homeschool moms. So, people that, have homeschooled their own children and realize that this is something they'd like to pass on for generations to come. And I think that's a really important, part to all this is we want to do something that's going to be sustainable and lasting. And that's another piece to, to building this, is to help to really create a foundation that is going to be lasting. I mean, these people, I've even had, men, I don't want to, discount the dads here. I've had dads that have said, I'm ready for my children to have something better or different or more personalized, tailored to them, whatever it is. And so I think a lot of times it's just people that are willing. I love it when I get a group of folks that come together and say, we want to do this. We are willing to put in the hours, the time, just help us, guide us and direct us.
And what about churches and pastors? Have you had some churches say, we feel like the Lord's calling this, it's an extension of our ministry, we want to serve our congregation and our community? Have you had many churches?
Absolutely. So about 90% of our groups right now have been part of a church. So a very small are just the ed entrepreneurs. And honestly, when possible, I always try to get them to work with their congregation on this, because number one, it's really great to have that backing. It's wonderful to have power in numbers and to have, your people that can help you through all of this. But also, I do believe that this is a great way for our churches to get involved. It's really important. It's something that God calls us to, is to, raise our future generations in his word. And, and we are able to do that by providing a solid Christian education for our students.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to clarify, Soaring Education Services is specific for faith-based, for Christian schools that are launching, correct?
Correct.
And so, Christian micro schools or innovative schools outside of the more traditional, because OpenSky has historically, they've been launching Christian schools for decades, right?
Absolutely. Yes, they have. So they have lots of schools and wraparound programs and services for all of that to help reach more families for the gospel. But Soaring is specifically for people who want to start a Christian school. And like you mentioned, we often call them micro schools. We don't always call them that. They have a lot of different names for them, but these are going to be more innovative spaces. Definitely.
Yeah, great. Okay, so when I look at the website and okay, so this is a good point here in our conversation to just mention that there are going to be some changes and some updates, right? We're revamping Soaring, and I just said we are. So I'm so excited. I get to be a part of the Soaring team, and I've taken on a new role with Soaring for the Soaring Ready services. And we're going to be, what we're basically going to be doing is taking all of the amazing training and coaching services and all the background and experience that Soaring has had over the past 4 years, combined with the backing of OpenSky and all of their resources and experience and knowledge for the past 30 years. And Soaring Ready is going to take what you have already been doing, but make it more affordable and make it more accessible. And we are building an online resource hub where we're connecting. It's going to be like a central platform to connect everyone who feels called to start a Christian micro school, to connect them with existing organizations and partnerships. This isn't just to elevate the work of Soaring, because we know we play a small part in it, but one thing we excel in are the individualized, customizable coaching and consulting services. And But then there's so many amazing organizations already and partner organizations like Herzog and their school box program that they have, and ACSI and others that are launching. And I find it really encouraging to know that there are a lot of Christian publishers. So they've been developing curriculum for years, maybe for a traditional private school, and or maybe they've been publishing homeschool curriculum, but they're all kind of recognizing what's happening and what's trending in education, and they are seeing this movement of micro schools. And so now they are even catering and curating some of their resources and products to serve those who are launching micro schools. So I'm very excited to be a part of Soaring and to help with this, but tell us a little bit more what you see to come in the future with Soaring.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, we have a lot of services and we love to share our expertise with people, but we want to make it more accessible and affordable. That's always been our goal with all of this. And so as we continue to move forward, I think that was one of the ways that we really look to doing that. So I'm really excited about our resource hub because I feel like we're going to be able to have a one-stop shop where you can go to find others who are doing this work already and doing a great job, and people that we've also vetted to see, what it is that they offer and feel that that would be a really big, fit. I think that's one of the things I keep going back to in all of this is with a pretty quick Google search, you can find a lot of things out there, and anything in 10 easy steps can be done, is what they'll say often. But it's more than that for me. I really do want to help to personalize to make sure that this happens for folks. So I'm excited to be able to have a place where people can go to know that there are vetted and trusted resources out there that we've even used most of ourselves or spend time in and discussion with, or in even creating things for them for their purposes of what they're doing. So I'm really excited about that. And then also I'm very excited to continue working with groups as we help to design and build our schools. So I think that's another really important piece to this is you're not alone in this. When you need help with something, we want to be able to be there for you. Whether it's, needing help building your budget, that can be really scary the first time. How do I even know what I need in my budget? How do I know that that's the right number? And so I think even just having help through those pieces that maybe you're unclear with helps to kind of break down those barriers and helps people to move forward.
Yeah. And I've heard you mention the feasibility study a couple of times. Can you break down just a little bit? So when individuals are coming to you and you're going to help them and walk them through a feasibility study in their area, what are some of the categories and areas that you address with that?
Absolutely. So we do a market analysis. We look at to see what the landscape looks like in your area. We look to see population trends and what's happening in the area. Are we seeing a lot of growth? Maybe there's a decline of a certain age range, and we're going to take a look at all of that for you. We look for economic growth. So we look for, is there a new large business coming in? Is Google planning to put a new site somewhere? Are things closing around there? We're going to take a real solid look to see kind of that part of the landscape first and foremost. And then we also take a look at the other schools in the area. We see what already is happening in the community, where you can maybe partner with those people, or maybe where you can be something different, or maybe there isn't a Christian school in the community. And so we want to take a look at how far people are driving. We want to look at all of that for you and help you to kind of make solid decisions, even on where it is you're going to have your school. Things like, how long is your school day going to be? Maybe you're in a farming community and there's certain times in the year where they need more time off because they've got a lot to get done on the farm, and that's part of what they do. We want to take a look at all of those trends and all of the data and information and provide really solid answers for what we think would be kind of an emerging design. And so that comes with all of our feasibility work, and you get a rather lengthy insight report just with lots of things that you can take a look at about your area.
That sounds great. It sounds so detailed and just so thorough, like you help them cover everything and think of everything. One of my questions as you're talking, so I know some of the homeschool moms or just like, former teachers, and they are moms themselves, and they do feel like God's called them to start a school, but they're really wanting to keep things very low key and very simplified. So when I listen to some of this, I feel like that could maybe add a little bit of a sense of anxiety, like, oh my goodness, I think I'm getting in over my head. Like this is way more than what I thought or considered. How can you help in the situations where those moms are like, no, 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 that's way too much. Like, I don't really want to go to that extent. I want to kind of tone it down a bit.
Mhm.
How can you provide services for them too?
Yeah, so we can do the very basic. We at least want to take a look at some of the data. Some of that is going to be as they're creating their mission, vision, and values, and what they see to happen. Is this a school that's going to be for you and a couple of other moms in your community, which is a beautiful and wonderful thing? Or is it going to be something, that maybe is for the larger community? And so as you take a look at all of those pieces, it's really important to make those decisions, at least somewhat. We know God can always throw a wrench in the plans, and he does sometimes. And, he's already got this idea. We just have to be obedient sometimes, right? But it's I think it's really important to know, like, we can take this as large or as small. And I think that's what's nice about having somebody from Soaring, is that we can help you not be overwhelmed in that moment of, well, I know that I've got to do this in order to have financial backing, or I want to keep it really simple. Then that's great. That's what we can do to put together. And so we really can scale it based upon what the needs are of the individuals.
Yeah, and that's another beauty of having it individualized. You can listen to them first. And so that kind of leads me to the very first step as people are thinking about this. I noticed that there's a discovery call option. And would that be a time when you would just kind of listen to them and hear their plan and ask them some guiding questions? Tell me what the discovery call is like.
Yes, absolutely. So we love doing discovery calls for people, even if these people don't end up needing our services. It's, again, what you just said. It's time for us that we have set aside, and they're usually about an hour in length. So this is something that we'll spend time with you, listening and discerning what it is that you're trying to put together. We'll certainly figure out ways that we think we can come in and help. But if we know of other places that you can go to get that help, we're going to send you to those places too, because at the end of the day, we go back to our mission, vision, and values, which are, we value Christian education, and we value kids knowing Jesus, and we want Christian education to move forward. So whatever that looks like, we're going to help you do that. And the discovery call is a really important part. You can hear more about what we can offer. Certainly our feasibility, design, and build services. You'll get to hear about all of those different things and what they entail, the ins and outs of, what you'll be learning as you go through these things. But more is, we will help you kind of right size what we think you would need to help put this together.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of Wise and Otherwise. We'd like to ask you to take a minute and please rate and review our podcast so that others can learn more about us, and just to continue to show your support for this work that we're doing. It would mean so much. So please, if you're on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, take a minute and give us a good review. Thanks. Yeah. And so beyond the discovery call, I love, again, how it's just very personalized. And again, that's a free resource, right? That's just taking valuable time with a coach and consultant, and learning from their experience and being able to ask questions and that sort of thing. So exploring your options together and getting a little bit of clarity and direction there. And then the free resource hub, that's going to be something, and we do hope to have that launched in the fall of 2024. So that's very exciting.
Yes.
And there will be a lot of opportunities on there. The plan is we will have a little bit of a self-guided kind of a checklist, or kind of like a self-assessment or something as you're walking through and working through content and exploring our partner organizations and what they have to offer, but helping to guide you through that process. And so we have many resources. I love what Soaring offers. I love that they are trying to make things affordable. And okay, so we talked a little bit about the feasibility study. We've talked a little bit about what the discovery call is like. Tell me what a design and build program is. So as they get a little bit deeper into the process, what type of content is covered during the design and build phase?
That's a great question. So the design is a little bit more big picture. Those are going to be some big rocks, if you will, things that we'll put together. We'll take a look at, your customer. So we'll get a good idea of who your customer is, who you're serving. We will actually work to craft a mission statement together. So that'll be part of all of this is, who you are going to be, who are you going to serve. We will work in, very broad strokes on educational philosophy. The role of the teacher, the role of the student. We will look at who needs to help you through this process. So community, who will those people be? We will look at things like pain points for those people. So things like that, what is it you're trying to relieve as the pain reliever, more than a Band-Aid, but what is it that you're trying to put on to really, help these families through? And we'll look at things like value add, how to share this message with people. And then one of my favorite things, because I'm a lover of lists, is at the end of all of this, you get a school launch checklist, and it's very detailed and, again, personalized for each group of these are the things that still need to be done. This is what we've already done, and here's what we need, the resources we need to make that happen. So that's all going to be in the design phase. We love at that point for people to already have kind of a really good vision cast for all of this. And so we send people out even with some pre-made PowerPoint presentations and things you can take on the road with you that you can share kind of the vision of your school. And then we ask people to get feedback at that point. So we have you invite real families into this, real people from the community that want to hear about what you have to offer. And then we'll have you help, get some feedback on that. Does this resonate with you? What are the barriers you see to sending your child to this school? Things like that. So we're going to get real, in some of this, and then kind of massage things and kind of have a really standard kind of solid answer of, what the school will have to offer.
Yeah.
And then we get into the next part, which is the build. The build is always the fun part. That's the one where you're getting to pick desks and chairs and curriculum and all of those fun things that you're putting together. And so that gets a little more exciting for people. It feels a little more real in that moment when you see the logo that's been created and you've got something going on here. But also it's some of the things that maybe are a little more challenging and less fun, but more fun when you can work together and have something to kind of start with. So things like policy manuals, we help to put together, that kind of your day-to-day operations manual. You'd be surprised, even just how sometimes talking through, like when the kids get dropped off, where are they going to go and all of this, how that becomes a really important conversation for you. We try to take away the stress of, what's going to happen once you have kids on campus. And so we want to make sure that you're thinking through kind of all of these different things, whether it's, are the kids going to eat lunch there? Or are they going to go home for lunch? Or, are you going to make lunch together? What is this going to look like? All of those things will kind of be part of that. And then another big part of the build is going to be obviously enrollment strategy and engagement with families. But bigger than that, it's going to be community engagement too, because we really believe that these things don't happen well unless you get the community involved. And so whatever that community looks like, whether it be your actual neighborhood community, whether it be your church community, whatever that is, maybe it's a little bit of both. We're going to help you discover people that can help you through, all of this process. It's my favorite thing when I see churches specifically come together and we've got, retired teachers that are willing to come in and help a couple hours a week. Or we've got somebody who's a writer that comes in and, does a writing workshop with the kids and inspires them to become writers. We've got woodworkers that want to come and teach a woodworking class to the students. I mean, all of these things, the sky's the limit with the community resources and what we're able to, really offer to the students. And so that's a big part when we build this, is actually helping you to think about all of those little details. And by the way, we won't forget to put things like, did you sign up for insurance on there? Because those are parts of it too. But we kind of really help to, make sure that we've taken, again, the guesswork out of it for you to help you kind of really know what it is you need to do to be ready to open on day one.
Yeah, and I can definitely see how your experience and background in administration would really be a key factor in just providing the knowledge that you have for others and to share that. And I see, so it's great that you have this experience and you've kind of been there, done that, and you've been on the other side and the administrative side of things. And I see that when people have questions, what I've noticed myself is that a lot of times we want to be able to ask each other, like ask our peers, others who've either gone ahead of us or who are currently walking with us in the process. And so that's another thing that I'm very excited about that's coming up with Soaring, the Soaring Ready product is we are going to be developing cohorts where school founders who are launching, or possibly even those who have already launched and who are in the build phase, we're learning together and we're growing together and we're kind of going through the process, doing some of our workshops, training and coaching together, maybe working through some of the online resources, and taking some courses or doing our own homework just to prepare and just to go through the process of learning together. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. I feel like it's very valuable to learn from our peers as we're going through a process together. So do you have multiple school founders who have kind of gone through this, and do they share information? Have you seen that in the past, that they're kind of sharing information with each other?
Yes, absolutely. So in the last couple of years, we have led about 7 or 8 now boot camps, and several of those have been with multiple founders. So they all get together in a room, maybe 6 or 7 different schools in a geographical area that isn't hopefully too far, but far enough to where they're each going to have their own standalone, school. And that has been really great. That has been one of those things where, like you said, we want to be able to ask someone who's in the trenches in that moment, and we want to get perspective. We want to get feedback from them. One of the most fun things we did was we took a group of 6 schools in Iowa, and we worked with them, and we did kind of a Shark Tank event, which was super fun. So they pitched their schools to the other groups in the room, and they got really honest feedback from them on what sounded like it would work really well and what they still had questions about, or were concerned about understanding more. And so that was really valuable. And I think that built some really lasting friendships for those folks. That's one of the things that we are very aware of too, is that you can feel a little bit like you're on an island when you're doing this. You're not, in a school district, maybe you're not part of this larger team. There may only be 2 or 3 of you that even works in this school. Maybe it's just you yourself even, to start with. And so we don't want you to feel like you're on an island. We want you to have, camaraderie. We want you to have people that, can be, in the fire with you, so to speak, and going through some of these things. And be able to pray together and celebrate together when things happen, and share experiences. And so I think that's what makes me excited about the cohort model, is the opportunity to go through this material, to talk things through, but to have other people that are doing the same thing you are at this moment in their community, and to be able to get feedback and to share with them kind of what you're doing and build that excitement. So I get really excited about that too. I think it's a great opportunity for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like there's a lot of room for diversity in school models and that people are going to do things a little bit different. And there might be a school founder, like you said, who's just working by themselves and they're the sole provider of education and the business owner and the visionary, and they're doing all of it. And they're the janitor on top of it. And there's just so much involved in that. But then there might be a more traditional model where they have a team of people with designated roles and different teachers and all of that. Tell us a little bit more about some of the diverse models that you've seen.
Absolutely. So again, it's one of those things that I get really excited about because I think with having my own children and being a leader in a more traditional, K-8 school, I think, quickly you realize that, different models can work for different communities and for different students. And so it's been fun to see just how some of these schools have come about based upon a community need. And what those look like really do vary from school to school so greatly. And I think that that's really exciting to see. You mentioned, you being the janitor and everything else. I think of one school in Illinois who the first year the teacher was everything. She taught, she cleaned, she was IT, she was, watching the kids on the playground during recess, all of those pieces. And God took her through that year, successfully, with her, 6 children that she had in that first year. And now they are bursting at the seams and have had to hire more staff and have more people involved. And so I think that's the other great thing about micro schools is that, they can be agile or nimble. You can change them quickly based upon, the needs at the time. Rather than having to wait for some curriculum cycle or some approval or something like that. It's like, let's do what these kids need in this moment. And so it's been fun to see that. And like you said, we've had other that have been more traditional where they have a school leader, and then they have maybe 1 or 2 teachers with, pods of students that they're working with in grade bands. So one of my favorite things I see is when we have the grade band model rather than a traditional first grade, those kinds of things. I love seeing multi-age education come up, and I just think of it, as the best parts of a one-room schoolhouse with 21st century learning and, all of these different pieces that I think are so important for students. And so I've seen models like that have worked really well. We have one high school who they get all of their content online. So they have virtual teachers that teach that content, and the adults that are in the room are really there to serve as mentors. So they're not teachers per se, although of course they are teaching the kids every day, but their focus is to help those people become who God has, called them to be and to help them become successful adults. And so that's their goal. And they use technology as a way of, leveraging that. I mean, so all of these things, we see some that use no technology at all. So maybe a pencil, I guess that technology would be okay. But when I say technology, I mean computers. And so maybe they are, using, textbooks that have been around for a long time, or maybe they're not. It really can vary, and it is based upon the community. And when we dig in and say, okay, what do they need, then we can help to put together a model that is going to help these students to be successful.
Yeah. So does Soaring work specifically with one particular curriculum, or do they promote one curriculum or over another, or how does that work when people want to use different things?
Another great question. So we do not promote one curriculum. We work with lots of different schools with lots of different models and lots of different educational philosophies. We will help you to figure out what your educational philosophy is if you don't know. But we've worked with several groups that knew from the beginning they wanted to be classical schools, and that's wonderful. So if we can back up that, there's a need in your community for a classical school, then we're going to help you build that. And what that looks like, is going to be a great learning experience for all of us as we put things together. So I think I've grown probably most in that area since I started with Soaring. I didn't know a lot about classical education other than that they taught Latin and that there was a lot of really good pieces to it. And now I feel much more confident to say, this is great, for this certain community. We might use a homeschool curriculum. I think I've mentioned before, we've used My Father's World in the past, or a Becca, other different curriculums. If that's what is really going to work in that community, then we might do that. A lot of it's going to depend on what I hear from the founder is, what are your thoughts about technology and the role it's going to play? What can we use? What are we not going to use? We'll help you, we'll guide you and direct you and put things together as you need it, but we don't dictate, what it needs to look like. I will say, when we make a recommendation, these are not recommendations that we just take a shot in the dark at. These are things that we have vetted. So I've been on the phone with these folks many times, different curriculum vendors. I have spent hours, talking and being really truthful with, what it is that I'm looking for and what it is I'm not looking for. So I ask the tough questions, and so feel pretty confident, but we'll also, help work out a plan that's going to work for that school specifically.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I love how you're just adapting and able to adapt and able to really personalize this experience for each school founder, because like you said, they're going to be serving the needs of their community. And I do like to kind of leverage technology. I mean, as a homeschool mom myself who had been doing it with my own 6 kids, I was very much relying on what can I get help with or outsource with this particular subject so that I can focus on, like, my focus. I love to do our Bible time and literature study in the mornings. But beyond that, I'm kind of like, okay, anybody want to do the math, do the science for me? So that's great to know that there's a lot of options there. And just to clarify, so Soaring is not a franchise. They're not trying to launch all of their little Soaring schools around, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big thing to understand too, is that we aren't necessarily trying to expand our name out there. It's about what God is doing in your community, with you as a school founder and with the families and students that you're serving. Or the church individually. And if the church wants to, which I definitely promote and encourage, if the church wants to have their own school, there's autonomy in that and ownership with the church and not with Soaring.
Correct. Yeah, we do not own these schools. We are just here to help with what works in the community for them. We're here to be a resource.
Yeah, amazing. So we're excited about the online resource hub that'll be launching in the fall. The cohorts will be launching in the spring. And then we also have on the horizon that we'll have a conference, probably going to be summer of 2025. So we'll definitely keep all of our listeners posted and up to date on all of that. And we will, okay, do you happen to have the Soaring website ready to share?
I do, actually.
Okay. I know that we may be changing the domain name. I'm not sure, but let's give the updated one, and for sure we'll be able to track to the new one once we get everything updated and revamped.
Yeah. So we are soaringeducation.org. And would you like me to actually screen share it with you?
Yeah, that'd be great, because this will be a YouTube video too. It's podcast and YouTube.
Excellent. Let me go ahead and get this on here for you. So soaringeducation.org. And yes, I do think there probably is some room for some new pieces to all of this. But you can get a lot of what you need here as well. So here we are, soaringeducation.org, and you can see our school launching. You can come here to contact us. You can click on the blue button, and you can find that several different places throughout here. And you can also learn a little bit more about who we are and the different things that we offer. You can kind of get an idea of some of the different things that we offer, especially if you're sharing this with other people. We do have an area that shows, frequently asked questions, how, things that you want to know. But the biggest thing I can say is my goal is to really help to make this personal for everybody. So if you have questions, the best way is to contact us and set up that discovery call, because we will work with you to help find a solution to help move you forward. So whether it's Soaring Services or somebody else's, or a combination, or joining our cohort, or joining us for a virtual lesson in something, we're here to help. And that's what we want people to know is, we are definitely here to help you start your Christian school.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kristie. This has been so informative. I love getting to share the resources that Soaring offers with our listeners. Is there anything else that you would like to share before you hop off?
Wow. Just, that we are here. We want to help. We want to personalize this for you in the best way. You can do this. I think you heard me say earlier that, God equips the called. And if God has called you into this and has put it on your heart, this can happen, and it's not overwhelming. And hearing big words like feasibility study, or design and build, or insurance, or 501c3, any of those things, don't let that scare you, because it's more important now than ever that we that we have these schools, that churches stand up and start opening these all over the place. So we're here to help, and I'd love to chat.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing about Soaring Education Services, and thanks for joining the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.